The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. This is like a $12,000 film. I was like, what you talking about? I said, who said that? And he was like, Shawn, you're acting, don't act. Be truthful, be truthful.
Wait, were you actually like in court for it?
Yes, bro. Like, I had to.
Although, yeah, like my dumb ass, like it got settled out of court. The murder got settled out of court. Yeah, okay.
This is how I know the enemy. The devil's
Who gets the flute?
Who gets the flu? This is how I know the devil's real. Because I was like, God, you have my back. All right, we can resume.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Jordan Whitrock Show. I'm your host, Jordan Whitrock, and today we have a very special guest. It's someone who I've got the chance to learn a little bit about SCAD, as always. A SCAD student. He's a second-year MFA student acting. I think one of the most memorable moments was in the hallway talking to him just about like learning about the school. It was like a quick moment, but I think that was like very impressionable for me and important for me to hear. And so things like that, I've been really appreciative. But he not only is graduating from the school, but he's also coming out with his film that he's been working on for his thesis. Nice guy. So without further ado, let's learn a little bit more about Shawn B. Fletcher. Woo! Yo, what's up?
What's up, bro?
Dude, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Me.
You said that you before we even wanted to start, you wanted to, use some scripture so that we can set up the show for our audience to,
absolutely
kind of get an idea of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes. So first and foremost, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just so stoked to be here. But yes, I did want to open it up scripture, and the scripture that I'm going to is Psalms 37, 23, right? And the scripture reads, and I'm reading from the New King James Version, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." And then I think that scripture really pertains to our conversation as we get into it. And just it's stamped on my life, and that's been really resonating with me, I think, for the past 2 years or a year now. So, I think it's just, I really wanted just to open it up with that. And I'm excited to talk more about that.
No, sweet. I'm so glad to have you here. We also have Mike back. Bro's been busy.
Yeah.
But he's able to slam us in, so we thank him.
Yeah. What's going on, everyone? Put some steak on it.
Hey, we might have jinxed that one, I think. All right. Okay. So, Shawn, you're here with us.
Yes.
We're in the really expensive studio, as you can see. No. You throw that there.
Right.
So I think, obviously, I think my first question is, acting. I think that's something that maybe growing up you think, I want to be an actor, but it doesn't really come to fruition until, later in life. Was that something that you always wanted to pursue? Or, was that later in life you were like, but this just, is eating at me. I want to do that.
Right. Always wanted to pursue acting it had to be, I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, identical twin, Shane.
That's cool.
And I grew up in New London, Connecticut. And I remember playing pretend, right? We would play superheroes with my cousin Zakiah, our cousin. So I think it was that where us playing pretend. I'm like, okay, I like this. And then we were movie heads. We loved movies. We would always collect movies. Zakiah's dad, my uncle Terray, he had over 1,000 DVDs. So we would compete with him. We're like, no, we're going to Walmart. We're getting DVDs. We're collecting them, kids movies and shows. So since that was the spark, we loved movies. And then the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, right? It was just parallel, right? Yep. They were in a single parent household. We were in a single parent household, right? They were twins. We were twins. They were white, but we were black. So even though that was different, we were like, me and Shane were we want to be on Sweet Life and Zach and Cody. And so we try. We're in Connecticut. It's very small, and it's not as, I will say, a lot of opportunity back then with a lot of entertainment. Yep. So we really pushed my mom at 7, 8. We were like, we want to do auditions and modeling and stuff. And my mom, she just was very protective over us, right? She was like, okay. But she did end up putting us in an after-school program called the BP Learn Mission, where we were able to do plays. And that is what really sparked the acting bug. My first ever show was Charlie Brown at Halloween. I was like, Pigpen. Why? I still don't know. But I think what really made me love theater was I was Sultan in Aladdin. And that was like my really main role. And I said, oh my gosh, like I just love this art form. Like I remember doing my blocking and just feeling so excited as a child. Like it wasn't worrying about lines, worrying about my placing, worrying about like how others perceive me, but it was just having fun. And so I always, even now, try to get back to that kid again, because it's like I think sometimes like you just have no inhibitions as a child. You're just so free and comfortable. But that is pretty much what sparked it. So that after school program was from 9 years old to 12 years old. But that was all of the arts. After that, once we went to like elementary, middle school, high school, we didn't have an arts program. We didn't have any theater or any acting.
How big was your school?
So
was it like just a small school so we didn't have that, or just we didn't value that?
Low resources. It was low resources. Our school was, I'll say my high school was like over 1,000. So I went to a magnet STEM school, right? Science, technology, engineering, math, right? So because it was magnet, we had outside students that come outside the district to come to New London, right, for funding purposes. And their district will pay the school where the school can get more funding. I was on the biomed pathway. But so the artistry was very neglected for so many years. But, you know, by the grace of God, I found a new love and passion, which was social justice, right? I was doing community organizing with the organization called Hearing Youth Voices. And I got to advocate, you know, implement like curriculum, advocate at the Capitol, implement laws. Like there's current law in the state of Connecticut that mandates that all public high schools teach Black history and Latinx studies. So I'm just grateful to do that because that's a passion of mine, like really impacting lives through policy, and that is what led me to like sociology for my undergrad. But I'll stop there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I think ever since a kid, I really wanted to be an actor, and I'm glad. I think doing theater and performance was like my way, like in.
Was there a type? So I know, like earlier, you said that film was something that you just loved watching. You loved collecting the DVDs and all that kind of. Like I remember as a kid, going to Family Video because that was what our video store was, and like you got to pick out like one movie in the like the $1 section, right? And that's what you rented for 2 days, you know, or whatever that was. But like I never thought about acting when I watched movies. I liked movies. I never thought about like I could do that.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that first experience was like the stage, the plays, like all of that.
Right.
When you were watching those movies, was that something where like I want to do that? You looked at it as like, or were you just enjoying the places that they were taking you?
I mainly enjoying the places that they were taking me, right? I think it was just the escapism. Like I've had such a vivid imagination as a child, and even now I'm like, oh my gosh. So it just sparked so much inspiration, and allowed me to just play and go there with my mind. I was like, I want to do that. And my grandma would always say, Shawn, it's not real. It's not real. She would be like, my family's very keep it real energy. Like she was like, Shawn,
First things first, I'm a realist.
Right. Literally. She was like, Shawn, it's not real. You can't do that. So but yeah, it was just the escapism that really provided.
Was there a genre that you liked?
Oh, I loved action.
Yeah.
Action. I ain't gonna lie. I loved rom-coms even as a kid. Like I'm not even ashamed. I love 13 going on 30. Like that.
Dude, I just saw like I don't know a trailer or something. I was like, I don't think I've seen that rom-com. I've seen so many rom-coms. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that one.
It's good. It's really good. Yeah, with Jennifer Garner. Yeah, it's really good. I loved rom-coms. Not really dramas as a child, but action for sure. Anything with superheroes.
Yep. Were you? I know you said you watched like Sweet Life of Zach. Were you a Disney family, or was it just that one show?
We were a Disney family. Yeah. So like Zach and Cody, That's So Raven, Corey in the House, Feel the Future. We just love Disney. We also love Nick too. Like Victorious, iCarly. There were so many other The Troop. It was a lot of shows. Yeah. Because
our household was like we were just Disney.
Really?
Like everything Disney, like movies. So like I would say like people are like, so what genre did you watch growing up? Disney.
Really?
Like whenever Disney popped out, that's what we were watching. You know.
Yeah.
Which then I think is like kind of interesting in like the tangent of like Disney's changed and like and whether it's like they're trying to be more riskier stuff, but it's just like like you can't like I don't think I could no longer just like put my kid in front of a TV and watch Disney, because it's like there might be something that I'm like, oh, what are we doing here?
Right,
you know.
right.
But I don't know. I think that's interesting. Okay, but I was curious on that because that going back to the original question about just film, because you know, like as you've been here at SCAD, you chose to do film for your thesis. So I was curious, before even we get into that, in going to SCAD, was that something you always were interested in?
Okay, not at all. Not at all. So once I graduated, so all throughout from 5th grade, right? Once I kind of aged out of like the plays at the after school program, I don't know what it was. 5th grade to my senior year of high school, I wanted to be a reproductive endocrinologist. So that's like a fertility doctor / OBGYN. Like that was my goal. And I was on the STEM pathway, still had this love for social justice acting. And I think because I was on the biomed pathway, I try to force or confine myself to that OBGYN route. But once I took this college chemistry course, I was like, yeah, nah, I don't want to do this. But I still have some interest, you know, if it was like to be a man doula or something, you know, I think it's needed, you know, and I just love children, and I think birthing is great. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I graduated from high school, went to Morehouse College, which is an historically black college in Atlanta, Georgia, and I majored in sociology, right? Because I was so stoked about just social justice, and I was doing the work as in high school with community organizing, helping with legislation, advocacy, and sociology provided just the language, the academic language I needed and data, you know, to further advocate, right? So I loved it. And I was doing short films in the meantime, like I was an RA at Morehouse. But the pandemic happened, you know, my second semester of my freshman year at Morehouse during my undergrad, because I was an incoming freshman in 2019. 2020, it was March, around our birthday. And I remember that's when I had to go back home in Connecticut. But yeah, once I graduated from Morehouse, I was like, I still wanted to do acting because I was a theater minor. I was a theater minor at Morehouse, but I had to drop the minor just to graduate on time. So I took like maybe 2 acting classes, and you know, they were getting their theater building renovated at Spelman College, which is right across from Morehouse. So I said, dang, like I really want to pursue this. So I started doing background, right? I was doing background, me and my brother, on Tyler Perry's studio for a show called Ruthless, and it's about occults. It's a cult show, very crazy. But me, my mom, and my grandmother, who was alive at the time, we would all watch the show. So once I got word that they needed background, I was like, yo, I want to do it. So we signed up for it, and this was maybe 2 weeks after we graduated from our undergrad. And a lot of the crew kept seeing my brother and I. We would like to pick at like each other, just like, Shane, you got a lint in your hair. Like, we're very comfortable with each other. And everyone's kind of staring like they're pretty close. And we're like, we're brothers, y'all. Like, the crew was making comments. And so there was this one PA, his name is Alan Brooks, and he came up to me, and he very nice, and he said, Shawn, if you really want to pursue acting, think about SCAD. I just thought SCAD was a fashion school. I didn't think of it as it had acting. And Alan, he went to Claflin for his undergrad, which is at HBCU, and SCAD for his master's in film and television. So he was a PA on the show Ruthless. And I said, okay, like maybe. He was like, no, Shawn, you should think about it for your master's. And I said, okay. So my immediate goal was just to do a master's, like that's under like 3 years, right? So I looked it up, and I said, oh, it's 2 years. Okay. So I did some research. I said, boom, I can go to SCAD Atlanta. I looked. They were like, we don't have a program. We have it in Savannah. I'm like, what? So I didn't, at the time, I just didn't know. So I applied, and my goal was to go winter quarter. I didn't expect to go fall because I just felt underprepared, you know, to go that soon. And so after doing the background, a year passes, and I'm just not fulfilled with my life at this time. Like, I graduated number 1 in my class in sociology at Morehouse, but I'm working the security job, you know? And I'm like, I worked it. I'm just doing this job just to, you know, make ends meet and to get
Is that because there like wasn't a job opening for you, or
it wasn't job openings. Like I was applying like hundreds throughout the week, hundreds, and I'm like, I've always been a planner, right? And I'm like, why at this moment is it like, what's going on with the market? I'm like, God, I want something, I'm back home with my mom, my grandmother, my younger brothers, Shane, he's an engineer, so he just moved. So I'm like ready to start my career, but I need dental insurance. I need help. So I just applied to the security job that my friend had sent me. It was like security for Delta Airlines.
Okay.
So pretty much I would check a badge and check their decals where the flight attendants and the pilots get trained.
Okay.
But I hated it. Real talk. I hated it. I would work in 9 p.m. to 5:30. The luxury was you get flight benefits, right? Like you fly for cheap. So I remember talking to God. I was like, God, why am I here? Like, why? Like here, I did everything I could. Like I graduated top of my class, #1, highest GPA, but I'm here looking at a badge and a decal. And it's no disrespect to those that like that, right? For me, that's just not what I wanted to do.
That wasn't your plan.
Yeah, it wasn't my plan at all. And I didn't expect that I would be here. So I was just it would be so quiet, at night. And I would just talk to God and just ask him like, why, right? Now, my grandmother is from the Bahamas, like my mom's side. My grandma's from the Bahamas, right? And she was living with us at the time. And she had health issues and hasn't gone to the Bahamas since 2012, right? She's the oldest. Some of my family members in the Bahamas wanted her to handle some family stuff, right, in the Bahamas. And so she ends up going there. And I told my grandmother, I call her Ma, I said, you have no condition to be traveling by yourself, like to a whole nother country.
Yeah.
I said, when you pass the property, the family issues, that's still going to be there. But you're not, right?
Yeah.
But she was a grown woman and she did what she wanted to do. She goes to the Bahamas, and up to this point, she's living with me, my mom, my younger brothers, right?
Yep.
Goes to the Bahamas for 2 weeks, passes away there.
Wow.
Yeah. But so
expected, unexpected?
Unexpected. Like we didn't think at all, right?
Okay.
That she passes away there. But thank God, right? And that's why I said like my steps are ordered because I had flight benefits. At this point, we never been out of the country ever, right? We had passports, they expired. So, but because of these, and even financially, we just weren't in a financial position to do it. But thank God, because of the flight benefits, like my mom was able to go, I was able to go, my younger brothers, I was able to get buddy passes to see my grandmother's body. We flew out there instantly, yeah. So I'm like, God, I knew that job served a purpose, and how it worked for SCAD was after like a couple months later, I applied to SCAD, right? Like in August, and then like late August, and then they said, "Oh yeah, we start in September," and I'm like, "How? I don't have no housing. What am I gonna do?" I was like, "Yo, I don't know if I can do this." And my friend Shaniva was like, "Showing, well, you just got to move some things around, apply for scholarships." Like she really was very optimistic, and I'm grateful for that. And so that's pretty much how I came to SCAD from Allen. From really, I was like, my grandma wouldn't want me to give up, like. My family's been very supportive over the art, and I know, which I'm blessed, for that. So I didn't have any housing. So for the first 7 weeks of the fall quarter, bro, I was flying back and forth from Atlanta to Savannah.
Every day?
So this is how it was.
Yeah. Wait, what? This is crazy.
Yeah. So I would, so because I was doing background before I got to SCAD, I was doing background, right, at Tyler Perry Studios, racked up on a lot of money, right? So I was doing from Sunday to Thursday, right? I would do Airbnbs, right? Fly in on Sunday, check into my Airbnb, and then I would you just go to class, right? Up until Thursday. After Jennifer's class, I think it would end at like 10:30 or no 1:30 because it was 11 to 1:30. I would then Uber to the airport, right? Fly back to Atlanta to my old job, to my security job, right? I'll get there probably 6 p.m. Which was a 30-minute flight because I had the flight benefits. Wait at the airport until my shift started at 9 p.m. Do work in the meantime. Work from 9 p.m. to 5:30. Go to my mom's house because this would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was 9 to 5. It was so then I would wake up. I'd work into Sunday because it's the morning. Fly from my job back to another Airbnb. Do that for 7 weeks straight, bro. It was like back from Atlanta to Savannah. Like I would literally be bringing my suitcases sometimes to class. And with the flight benefits, this one time, like you're on standby. Like all employees, you're on standby. So I remember one time I kept getting layover, like pushback. pushback, and this was like for Jones. Like we had a presentation in Jones class. I was like freaking out. I said, "What?" And Caleb, he was like, "Shawn, you should be fine. Just come in, the next day," because I had no flights, And I think so that was it was a very hard transition, like from flying back and forth. And then my job, I was missing a couple of days because I was like, I would have Stork in the morning, and then I was like, I can't come in job. And so it was just a lot until I was able to go on Facebook Marketplace, find my current place in Savannah. And that's pretty much how I kind of maintained. But I will also say outside of Allen, and just the death of my grandmother, it was I went to an acting conference like a month before my grandmother passed, and it was my friend George Middlebrook, who plays my dad in Rodney and Nice Guy. We both were doing background for the show Ruthless, right?
Okay.
And he sits next to me, and he's just saying, "Shawn, this is the acting classes you should take if you're serious," like just really putting me on.
Yep.
And I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm doing a conference in Detroit in April 2024. I said, "Okay." He said, "You should do it." So it's so weird. I'm just thinking about how life works. But
I'm with you.
So at the time, so I said, "Okay, I'll do it." This was June 2023. He tells me, and so once I see the conference, he said, "Shawn, come to Detroit." And I just got the job. I was like, "Well, this is the first time I'm ever using my flight benefits. Bet. Like I want to do it." Bro, tell me why the NFL draft was there. So many things were happening, and I did not understand how flight benefits work. So I'm on standby. I did not catch a flight till the next day. And I'm on jury duty for this week for a murder case. And they canceled the Friday.
Wait, were you actually like in court for it?
Yes, bro. Like I had to.
Although, like my dumb ass, like it got settled out of court. The murder got settled out of court. Yeah, okay.
Bro, it was. No, you're funny. It was a lot, bro. I don't know what, and they canceled like the Friday just so I can go to this conference, like the judge and everything.
Oh.
And so anyway, I ended up going to the conference, and I was just so inspired. Right, there was Cedarius Bland, there was Ty White, just different actors, other actors and producers, and George. He was like, "Shawn, you made it," because I seen him get on his flight. That's how I was supposed to leave at 12 p.m. At this time, it's like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Like until I see him go to Detroit. He was asking the flight, the gate agent, please let him through. They was like, "No, he's on standby." But by the grace of God, I was able to make the conference. But that is what I was like, "Yo, I really gotta take this craft seriously." And I know myself, like paying little money, like $100, $300 every month. Here and there, I know that if I need to be in an environment where I'm immersed in it, where I can really just work on it, where I'm forced to be there, interacting, just here in this environment and just working on the craft. So that is pretty much how I came to SCAD, right? Allen, and then going to that conference from George, and then that just with my grandmother, I'm like, I need to just go. But it was hectic for the first 7 weeks, flying back and forth, going to class. Like I felt a little bit like flustered, but it was a challenge, definitely perseverance.
That's crazy. Like I imagine just like, well, what's funny? There's like the story of like the kid that like every day for school, his parents would just send him on a plane and he'd go to like at 5 a.m. and he'd go to school and like land. And I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. Like, what are we doing here? But that's like when you were like, yes, I had to like fly for the first time. I was like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
But and then staying in B&B's. I mean, kind of lucky that we're in tourist destination from that standpoint. That you would have options to, in case something would happen or whatnot. But that's fascinating. I mean, you kind of were leading into it. Do you want to dig into like then how did you decide that you were like?
I got a small question. Sorry.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Was it the same Airbnb every single time, or did you find a new one?
No, it was a different one. So Sundays I would have to look for a different Airbnb that was within my price range, that also was close to Kreitz, that wasn't, because I was Ubering, right? Because I didn't know Savannah. And my first time ever seeing a SCAD building was really like the first day of class. Like I visited SCAD prior, and like once I got accepted and I did my flight benefits, and I said, "Oh, maybe I could fly back and forth." I said this to myself as a joke. And I didn't know it was gonna happen. I like words are powerful. But words are powerful. Yo, I said, "Oh, I could fly back and forth," just as a joke, because it was like Drayton, it was Forsyth Park, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like Savannah." That's what it wasn't like aesthetically appealing to me. But yeah, it was different Airbnbs each time.
Yeah,
that had been pretty hectic to like find or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, I just look at
challenge.
I mean, like, I like the place that I'm in now. It works for what I need. But it's like
Yeah.
I'm potentially looking for a new one. It's like it's hard enough to just look for a new apartment,
Yeah.
let alone B&Bs that are going on and off, and you just like, or get booked right before you book it, and you're like,
Oh,
damn it.
right. Yeah.
But were there any weeks that you got close to that you were like, I don't have a place, like, or were you always able to find one?
No, I was always
Okay.
able to find
Nice.
one. Yeah, no, that wasn't the case.
Okay, nice. But going back to the original thought, what led you to decide, hey, I'm at SCAD, for my thesis, I'm going to make a short film instead of, put on a play, which is the traditional route,
Yeah. Whew. That is um I'm not gonna say unfortunately. I will say I like a challenge, right?
Yep.
I realized that about myself, and I love the stage, but I really wanted to do something on screen, right? Because I knew that I wanted a demo, substantial, just material that I can send to an agent, potentially can invite agents to,
Yep.
and that's something that people can constantly watch. Now, of course, you can record a stage play, right?
Yep.
But I think that's still you have to experience a play. It's something you got to experience. But for a film, you can always watch it all the time, right? And I want to see my growth. I know there's a lot of growth that can be done, that growth that has been done. So I want to showcase this story, and this story was so unique to my life, right? It's personal, right? It's not biographical at all, right? Like Shawn never got cheated on, right? Shawn has been a nice guy at one point of his life, but Shawn's not going to let so many people walk all over him like Victor has, right? So
Okay.
there are like distinctions between Victor and myself, but at the time, Morehouse College is an all male HBCU, right? So I was witnessing conversations about red pill masculinity, blue pill, right? So
Gotcha.
like the Andrew Tates, I don't know if
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the world, and
Yep.
then like the Kevin Samuels and alpha male strategies, fresh as fit, Steph is cold. So I'm hearing, on Brown Street, we have a street at Morehouse that we like debate. Like it's notorious where we just debate like topics and conversations. And I would just hear about like, oh, you nice guys finish last, or you can't be, women like the alpha male, like stop that
Yeah.
that beta mess, right, or beta stuff.
Yep.
So I was like, that's so interesting to me. But what if you have someone that strives to be an alpha, right? But he is conditioned to be a nice guy, right? This people pleaser, right? Because I noticed in my life, like, that I have people please, right? Even still, right? Especially now as an actor, like our job is based on the approval of others. Like we have to be validated. And now being here, I'm like, what's going like it's one thing when you're not in this field, when now like being in this field, like I'm witnessing people pleasers all around me in classes. Like, what do you think? Like, what can I do? And it comes
Yeah.
off it just that it's so interesting to me. But but with this story, I was like, well, I don't want to tell the stereotypical story about black men like thugs and like
Yeah.
that's just it's like we already have that narrative,
Yep.
right? And being poor, like that's one narrative of us. But black, we're so complex and unique that there needs to be other stories told. So what if this is like a redemption story? So I had the concept of Nice Guy created in 2020 because the rise of the podcast with all those guys and stuff, and from the debates. But I never written a screenplay, right? So I knew by May of 2025 I wanted to do a short film, right? Because I knew one grad student from last year's cohort that did it, right? Everyone else did plays, which is great, but I wanted to do a short film for something like this. And but I never written a screenplay, so I filled out the dramatic writing collaboration form that Avery Stork sends.
Yep.
And then I was paired with Nikki Thompson,
Okay.
dramatic writing student, and I told her the concept, and I said I just really want, I told her the characters. Like I knew that I wanted a father, right? I didn't want to do a single mother. I wanted a father. I wanted the son. Like I never had a relationship with my dad. My dad was in my life, right? But I still think showcasing those examples of fathers on screen is important, especially black fathers. And I knew I wanted just a relationship, but I just didn't have I had characters, but not a story in mind. So Nikki, she was able to help assist and really create and write the story, right? Because she knew it. And so we would meet every week. She would say, Shawn, is this okay? I'll say, yeah. She said, do you like this? I'd be like, no. And so we went through these different channels. Once she wrote the story, I then did a focus group with different men from like my Morehouse brothers.
Yeah.
My brother was on the call, and some of my uncle Taray, he was on the call because I knew he was a movie head, to read the story out loud. And Caroline Soranke, who's in my cohort, she was on the call to read for Mia, and that was able to once they read the scripts. And we asked them a series of questions, right? And I just shared my screen. I didn't give them the story, beforehand, because I wanted just fresh thoughts, first opinions, and just initial thoughts. And their feedback was so invaluable. And then we took their feedback, because the script was 28 pages. Once we got their feedback, it was 25 pages.
Okay.
Because we knew we had to condense it, because everyone's saying short films need to be really short.
Well, don't they say it's like a minute a page too?
Yes.
So
it's a minute a page, and we were just hearing and we knew that we wanted to apply for festivals, so anything 40 or more, that's like feature, like I think 12 to 20 is like good territory, right? Some people say 7 pages, right? I think it just depends on who you speak to, but then after we got their feedback, we then went to I purchased a script consultant agency, right? That actually does script consulting for movies and stuff.
Okay.
The Professional Pen, Shannon Johnson. And they've done for so many network and studios. So one of the consultants, he said, "You guys have a clear story. It's just some structural issues." So we were like, yes. So that was just very encouraging. So we took his feedback, and then we just had to condense it some more. And it was 17 pages by the end. Yeah.
Was this something that was happening over the summer, or was this like fall quarter?
The focus group was the summer. Okay. Us writing it was throughout the summer. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, the script consultant, the Professional Pen was October, fall. Yeah, so we had a complete script by November, like a finalized script by November.
Gotcha. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Within the writing process, I know you had assistance in the writing and creating the story. Did you ever sit down and like write a page or two and send it? Or was there communication that way?
No. So Nikki actually would write it. Would write it. I would approve it. We would have like Zoom calls, and I would just look at it. And I say, well, can he say this? Can he say this? And one of the things I love about Nikki was she's such a great collaborator. She said, "Shawn, this is your thesis. This is your baby. If you do not like it,
that's cool.
Let me know." Like she
that's
said,
what I was curious.
Yeah, it wasn't like, "Oh, this is mine." This is like, she was such a champion. She's like, "Shawn, I'm writing this, but this is for you. This is your baby, right?" And what she ended, this was like a baby for her, because she wanted to, once her writing duties were done, she was like making like presentations and just wanting to be involved. I said, "I would love to bring you on as the creative producer," right?
Yeah.
And then she said, "Really?" I said, "Yes." And then she even like invested so much of her own finances for a nice guy.
Yeah.
So she just really believed in the project.
Yep.
And funny enough, God is funny and ordered my steps, because her family is from the Bahamas.
Wow.
My family, and she was talking about God and is a believer. So we just created such a bond from that. Didn't even know so at all until the first time we met. And it was just a natural synergy. And I was like, yo, I really like her. Like, she has this strong creative force about herself, and such an earnest individual. So yeah, she would write it, I would see, and I would edit and tweak. I was mainly like the editor and tweaker, and I would be like, okay, I want this scene to have this scene to have this, right? And then she would go through, and then I would just go back and kind of edit, little revise, and then she would mainly handle like the bulk of the work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I mean, like, for me, the only scripts I've written were like for a class or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think in seeing the trailer, like, that's something that I was like, oh, like, this is that next step beyond student film. Like, this is the short film that's goal is to become a feature film.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can tell by watching
you.
it, you know, which I think was so cool. And like, I've heard so much about the project that I was like, I can't wait to see like something close to it, you know?
Yeah.
But
no, I appreciate that, because I told myself, I said, number one, this is expensive, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm putting thousands of dollars down, we're going to get professional folks on this project, right? So even before I had my two main producers outside of Nikki, Sid Hunt and Joshua, I interviewed candidates. Like, I interviewed the students. Like, I would have Zoom. Like, I put in a request for the production form, right? Production office database, right? So I was getting emails. It was like, "Oh, I want to be a part of your project." I said, "Okay, let's set up an email," because my discernment is pretty good, and so I want to, and I did. and I had Alan to assist me as well.
Yep.
Because we created a bond, but we were on a Zoom and we'd ask like pretty much the STAR method questions, like, okay, how are you in this instance? Like, what's your work ethic like, right?
Interesting.
What's your focus?
Hit me with some of those questions. If I'm interviewing.
Okay, so
for
if you're
a position.
interviewing for, let's say, producing,
All right.
producer role. So Jordan,
Yep.
what would you do if the director wants another shot, right? But people haven't eaten. Haven't eaten yet. Like we're still waiting on food. The director hasn't. He still needs a shot, right?
Yep.
Would you interfere with his creative process, right? Or how would you go about handling that, right? More so, I didn't want to ask a probing question, how would you go about handling that, right? So they would give me their response. Some people would just be like, oh, well, I don't care what the director says. Like, this is some people, their response, like, I'm going to do what's best for the crew. So, and then some that would just say, well, I would try to do it this way. And I'm like, okay, they have a good sense of,
I think my
character.
thought would be like, okay, what's the shot?
Yeah, exactly.
Is the
right.
shot quick, fast-ish?
Exactly.
Or is the shot something that goes on for a while?
Right.
Which I'm totally down. If we have time or the footage space, let's do it. But we got to take the break. That's probably how I would come.
And that's
a
great answer.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how.
But honestly, I thought that was going to be a wrong answer. I thought there was like we let the director do it, or you're like, we don't give up.
So it honestly depends on the director. Some directors don't like their toes to be stepped on. If I was directing, I would probably approach like, okay, how long is this going to take? Like, can I speak to the AD? Like, pretty much.
Did you direct this or no?
No. So AJ
yes.
Nelson,
okay,
amazing.
We've had him on the podcast.
Yes, he's amazing. Directed this, and I'll get into how we met and why he was brought on in a bit, and for a reason. But yeah, so I interviewed the bulk of the candidates, right? But once I got my producers, Sidhan, Bomi Red Polly, and then Joshua Watkins, they were film students, so they already knew who was reliable, who wasn't.
Yes.
So having them took such a load off of me, because now it's like I can really just focus on like the acting, the prep work. Because producing, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I started a GoFundMe. I started a GoFundMe May of 2025.
I was going to ask you about like, how was financing a film to this magnitude? I mean, like, I think I'm used to seeing like, hey, we're trying to raise $300.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the goal of this is different than that. We have, we're reaching for the stars, and that takes resources.
Yeah.
So how did you go about that?
It was difficult at first, right? Because I don't like asking people really for help.
Yeah, same.
More so money, right? Like that is like a no-no, right? Like I will thug it out if I have to. But I had to really speak to myself. I was like, God, like, I don't normally do this, but I'm in the position where I need to graduate, right? This is a passion project of mine. So I would really put in God's hands. Like, there was a point where I would just say, God, I give you custody. I would literally, because First Peter 5:7, like, cast all your cares upon me. I would give you custody of this, right? I said, this is not my project, right? All good gift comes from God. You put this idea in my head, right? And because you're the way maker, you're gonna have to do it, God. You're Jehovah Jireh. You're my provider, right? So having that perspective, I knew it was gonna get done, even though my faith sometimes would waver. And I said, no, like, I have to believe in my heart that it's already done, and it's done, right? So having that perspective, I said, okay. I started to GoFundMe, I think after the last day of Jaski's class, like of the spring quarter I started the GoFundMe, right? After I said I knew I'm very big on planning. Like, I want to start this GoFundMe. I was in Connecticut for the Eugene O'Neill Theater Intensive, right? So I'm from New London, Connecticut. I was there. I went and hanged up GoFundMe flyers, right? Back to that community organizing, on people's businesses. I said, hey, I'm doing a film. People were donating. And then I would just text people. And because I knew I was going to contribute my own finances, right? So I already had that in the back of my mind. However, I want to get, as many people that can donate, because once I brought my producers on, they was like, Shawn, this is like a $12,000 film. I was like, what you talking about? I said, who said that? I could not believe it. I said,
what was your original thought that you thought it was going to cost?
I thought like $8.
Okay.
Yeah, like $8.
So not like that much. I mean, that's still a lot of money. But
I thought like $8, nothing in like the double digits, like 10 or so. When they said 12, I said okay. But I think they didn't. With me, I can be very resourceful. Like I'm that resource friend. So if you don't have something, I'm like, okay, Jordan, if you need to figure out travel, like that's where my mind automatically goes. So I knew that I can get under that budget, right, based off of bargaining, based off of doing some type of barter system. So I was like, okay, because I think the biggest complaint was the locations. We had a lot of locations, right, and so and even with we had a lot of locations, and there was just like equipment. What are you gonna do about that? So I literally, bro, would after the GoFundMe, I would ask my family, and I would say like, well, who can I ask in my family? So there was one family member who said, okay, Shawn, I really love you. I believe in your project, and he's gonna assist. And then Nikki assisted, and then we already had like 3,000 in the GoFundMe, and that's why I tell all students, if you know you want to do a short film or even a play, start that GoFundMe ASAP. Do not wait a month out. Do it at least, like I had over 7 months of pre-production. Right. And I feel like that still wasn't enough time, but compared to the average thesis, that's a lot. I had a lot of time, and that's how I was able to get that. Right. And then I put up a lot of my own money for this project as well. And then for equipment, that was like the most expensive. And I said, well, Lord, what am I going to do? And I started emailing like boxing companies, right? Title Boxing. And I said, God, I just need one yes. And a couple of people responded and said, we can't do this, based off of this is a short magnitude. Because I said, well, we're going to apply for film festivals. They were like, well, you have to get in first, before. I was like, okay. Basically, they don't want to, it was a risk for them to But this one company, should I say their name? You can.
You don't have to say their name.
Okay, bad. This one company ends up doing it. And they send me like a box of like boxing. Bro, this is like thousands of dollars. And this is one of the most expensive boxing companies that, does, brand. Mike was there when he saw pulling out the box and stuff. I was like, yo. And I was just really grateful because that was like one of the, like a headache. It was like, oh, we gotta get the materials and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much how that worked as far as financing. And I just tell just students or filmmakers, like, really have your faith in God. God was so instrumental because you have your days where you're really excited, and then you're looking at the GoFundMe and you're like, dang, why isn't the bar moving? And then you're seeing other people on Instagram that they're like kind of surpassing that, and they just started it. I'm like, well, God, what's going on? And so it taught me to be patient, to wait. Like this film, it was so monumental because my faith really just accelerated because I really had to trust God. Like I would write it down, right? Habakkuk 2:2 said, write the vision, make it plain. So I would write down what God's going to do. I said, God, it's not if you can do this. I know you're going to do this, right? So it's like all things are working together for my good. I believe that. Like if there's traffic, 2-hour traffic, my thought process is, God, there's an accident that you don't want me to be in. That's why there's 2-hour traffic, right? So I'm very optimistic in that lens, right? Like that's why I don't get upset too quickly about certain things because I do believe things are working out for my good. But yeah, so that's pretty much the financing aspect of that.
Interesting. No, that's fascinating. I mean, as we get ready for our thesis, or we're just starting that, like I think like it's one of those like, all right, how are we gonna do this? Or is the play that we're choosing going to cost that much? Because maybe we get lucky and we pick one that doesn't. That kind of thing. And whatnot. And it's like, I think there was maybe a split second where I thought about a film and I'm just like, oh, there's so much to it. I was like, I don't think I want that. Like, I was like, I came from a film-ish TV background. But it's just like, that's not my desire to do that. And you have to rely on people, and it sounded like you had the right people that you could rely on to do all the behind the scenes work, which then gets us right back to AJ. And how that happened.
Oh my gosh. So AJ, and the right people, right? That you said something. So, and my prayer was to God, anyone that's on this project that does not need to be there, boot them out. That was my prayer.
That's real.
I said, and we might have to cut this part, but I'm gonna be really, we'll bleep some of this part because I'm about to be really transparent. So there was an individual before AJ got on. I'm not gonna say. There was actually bleep this part. So we're
back.
Yes, we're back. I was just very overwhelmed, right?
Yeah,
And I see Yvonne Carlo first year
Yep.
walk we found out that we were neighbors, but he was walking to Christ. And I said, "Why are you walking to Christ?" He's like, "I always walk to Christ." I said, "You can take the bus, bro." He said, "I never took it." I said, "Come on." So we took the red bus. And that was his first time.
Okay.
So on the bus, I'm just talking to him. I said, "Bro, about like how my director dropped and how I was looking for a director."
Yep.
And I really wanted someone who's skilled in directing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the guinea pig for this thesis. So I wanted a skilled director. He said, "You should get AJ directed." I said, "Who's that?" He said, "AJ." I was like, "Is he black?" He said, "Yeah." I thought I met all the black people. Like I met Mike, I met Sierra, I met Aaliyah. I thought I met all the black people and the black men in the first year cohort.
You met me before AJ?
Yes. So I'm like, "Who is this AJ?" He was like, "Aaron Nelson." I was like, "Okay."
I'm not gonna lie, I do remember back in the fall, people would say something about AJ. I was like, I had the same thing. I was like, who's AJ?
Who's AJ?
I didn't know who he was.
Yo, I was like, "Okay." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'll give you his number." So, he gave me and AJ was just corresponding via text. I gave AJ, I sent him the script, and then he said, "Okay, I have a lot of thoughts." I said, "Perfect." At this time, it was me, Nikki, Sidhant, and then Joshua. I said, "We would like to interview you."
Yep.
Right? "Can you send me your portfolio and your material?" So we looked through it. He had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
He did boyfriend therapy, and then just here's just credits.
Yeah.
And I think God has a funny sense of humor because AJ went to Claflin University for his undergrad, right? So, which was like the original directors went to Claflin University. So God has a funny sense of humor. Interesting, right? That's why I say my steps are ordered and all things really do work out for my good because it's like, look how full circle that is, right? And AJ was just amazing. Like there was, he understood the story instantly, like on the call. Like he understood it. He knew about the red pill, blue pill, the manosphere conversations. He knew kind of like the tone I was going for. And I told him, I said, "AJ, I'm trusting you with this project.
Yeah.
If you want to change certain things, I'm not as long as it's you remain to the intent of the story, please do what you want." I wanted him to feel as comfortable as possible because this is this is you. Have free will and free range to do whatever you want because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable or as if, even though I am putting, I'm the executive producer and the lead actor, no, I'm very big on collaboration. I don't like dictation. I don't like just you have to do this, you have to do that. That's not how I roll. This is a community effort. So bro, and he did that and he just really pulled some strong performance as you guys will see May 12th at 7:15 p.m. But yeah, I'm really so grateful for him and he was an answered prayer. And he doesn't know, and to Yvonne as well for connecting us. But yeah, that's how AJ and I got connected.
That's so cool. So you said that do we want to put the trailer in here so that the people can see?
Please.
All right,
please.
cool. Inserting trailer now.
That's your problem. You want to be all nice and stuff.
I told you this, and then I was getting my nails done right after. Thanks so much. You're always thinking of me.
Man, nice guys finish last.
You better pick up the slack. Get it done.
What? Victor, your blood is boiling. I can feel it. Your heart is racing too. I can hear it.
It's not about being the nice guy. It's about finding those versions of those traits within you, man.
I am tired, Dad. You don't appreciate me or anything I do.
I didn't want you to find out this way.
You got to be a high value man. See, we don't lose.
Stay grounded in your stance.
I keep putting everyone else's needs above my own. That's how I'm losing myself.
This is the fire breathing dragon. This is the fire breathing dragon.
No, I think I said it earlier. When I watched the trailer, I was just so impressed, with the quality or the style. I mean, maybe that's what I was like. I wasn't sure the style that it was going to be shot in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Was that a thought process in doing it, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I give credit to our original director. Not the original, the first director that was brought into the project because he was like, you should get the Arri Alexa, right? Which is one of the nicer cameras, right? Get the Arri Alexa or the Red because he worked on actually one of the Creeds. So he worked on one of the Creed films. So he was like, that's why I really was so excited to bring him on, you know, on the project. But you know, so he was saying, you want the R-rated, Shawn. I know the look you're going for. You need to make it very cinematic, because I really just did not want it to come off student filmy, right? I wanted it to become off more cinematic. So, but here at SCAD, in order to have that camera equipment, you need a qualified DP that took like all the classes to be certified in that. So, and I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this. So SCAD was giving me an actual hard time to get that equipment, because so I had a film student at DP, shout out to Griff Hyde, amazing DP. He's certified to use the equipment, but because I was an acting thesis and not a film thesis, they were trying not to give me the equipment. But I'm of the thought that everyone has a boss. So I decide to send an email, right, to the powers that be. And I didn't hear back for 6 days. And this is where I'm like, okay. Yeah. I'm also of the thought where now it's like, because we got everything in order, but you're not trying to give us this equipment. I'm not paying. I don't want no black magic. And I would tell God, I said, God, I don't even like the name of black magic. I said, Lord, please give us this equipment, because you know we need it, right? Yeah. And so I just went into a big worship and praise for a good 7 days. It was a Thanksgiving challenge, really thanking God of what he's already done, even if I didn't see it, right? Because I know that in the realm of the spirit, we're not part of a kingdom that lives off of what we feel, see, or hear as believers, but it's what God says. And the word of God is so powerful. It's like, Lord, you're my provider, God. You are the provider of this, God. Like, this is not my project. So you're never going to leave me nor forsake me, God. So you're going to have to make a way. And I know you can do it, God, because you're God, right? You're my father. You know what I need, God. Like, this is not too big for you. You're the God that parted the Red Sea, that parted the sea, Lord. If you can do that, and we're under a better covenant because of Jesus Christ, then you can give me this equipment, right? And that's how I think we have to be real with God. Like, he sees it. He knows it. Like, we can't hide. He sees it. So I'm a dreamer, but I had a dream that we got it, right? Yep. And I wake up, I'm like, well, God, I don't see it, right? I'm like, so I'm still praising. I'm like, God, I thank you, Lord.
I'm looking at the email list.
I haven't seen it, right? I'm like, God, I thank you. But I think it was 4 days later, and I journaled this, but 4 days later, we finally got it. And it was like an email, like, we're making an exception, because of all the, the work you've been doing. And I said, thank you, So we ended up getting the equipment. We got like the B Raptor lens. And because the issue was Griff was qualified. He took all the classes, but he wasn't a senior. So he couldn't use this as his senior. He was a junior. So it's just a small technicality.
So he couldn't use it as thesis, otherwise it could have worked. Exactly.
But I said, this is for my thesis. I appreciate Scott Smith, Scott Ballard, D.W. Moffitt, Adrian Boner, like, just for that process alone, for that, just really working out that equipment situation. Because I was like, I knew the magnitude, what I want to go to, and for this film and the project, right? And the cast, right? And I don't know if that was your next question, but the cast of this project, I really wanted, like George, who I said, who organized the acting conference, we did background together, but now he's a series regular on Beauty and Black, right? The number one show on Netflix. So to see, even though like we met in 23, but to see how he's elevating where God took him and he's continuing to take him, it was so inspiring to me, right? I was like, yo, that is, and that's amazing. That's a blessing. And I'm always, when I see my friends and family win, it's a win for me, right? I've just always been that.
I'm so on that side of I'm like, a win for you is a win for me. And a win for me is going to be a win for you.
Exactly.
Like, as long as we have that connection or whatever that is for you. But like,
exactly.
Yeah, just like when people get too competitive or get like, oh, like you won, which means I lose. It's like, nah, like then we're not in sync, or then maybe we're not as close as we thought we were, vibes. But
I agree, and I don't understand that mess. Like I don't understand. It's like, if I see y'all in a $100 million movie, number one on the call sheet, I'm like, yo, that's a blessing. And maybe that's the twin thing in me, like where I'm always used to championing someone on. But I think,
which I feel like that might not even be as common. I feel like a lot of twins, it's like
compete, right?
Yeah, you're competing to be the best, to get the attention to whatever that is, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But I think my mom and grandmother really instilled us not to do that.
And that's so cool.
Yeah, but she said, don't, even like when we're in public, like if there's an issue between Shane and I, she said, do not fight with your brother in public. Like you pull him aside, you go talk to him in private. So they instilled like that loyalty in us. And Shane and I, we were always like on the same like page, like even academically. Like there was, even if I were to excel a little bit, like Shane was like right underneath, or vice versa. Like he was very big on sports, and I did sports, but Shane really was like, he had a passion for it, right? Especially football. And I was good at football as far as I was like defensive tackle and offensive line, but it just wasn't a passion of mine, right? So that's where he excelled. So I love that my mom balanced and championed like our giftings and what we were able to do, just so that there's not this competitive thing, like, oh, like even I see some twins like that argue with each other and I just cringe, or like they just dislike each other or not as close, right? And I think it does start at child rearing. But with the cast with George, to have him on the show, on the movie, I had asked him, we read it over winter break. I said, bro, because he was running lines and stuff. He said, Shawn, you want to run lines with me? For just and I said, yeah, I'll run lines. And then I said, well, George, can you read my short film? Nice guy. He was like, okay, I'll read it, right? And I was like very nervous at the time, because I'm like, I hope he says yes, because I just envisioned him as the dad, right? So,
Gotcha. So you like had this vision that he was gonna be in it.
Yes,
but you never asked.
I never asked. I was like, so, because and this is not who George is, but you never know if people like switch up or they let the clout go to their head.
True.
So, and I knew that wasn't the case with him. This was like, it was never like the perception that he was doing.
Yes.
This is just like
the internal
things, what's going on in my
real.
head. So I'm like, okay. So when I get over to his crib and I'm like, bro, he reads the script. He was like, Shawn, dang, I like that. I said, well, which role, because I wanted him to pick. I said, I had a role in mind, but I said, I really would like for you to be in it. He said, word? I said, well, which role? He was like, I really like that coach. I'm thinking, dang, dang, lad. I was like, dang. I was like, okay. Because I saw George play the coach before in a film with Aspen Kennedy. And so he was like, but I really like that dad. And I was like, yes. I was like, I think he said, because I feel like the coach has to be a little bit more older, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So yeah. So
I totally agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
like,
we fit for the dad.
Exactly. So I said, for sure, bro. So he said, let's run it. I was like, he said, yeah, let's run the scene. And so we stood up, bro. And keep in mind, like we were just kind of playing, and with George, as we ran the scene just to do it, right?
Yep.
And he said, and he was giving me a lot of notes. He said, Shawn, just be in the moment. Like, don't anticipate, right? Like, I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, I'm working with a seasoned actor. Like, this is someone on Netflix. That's like Shawn Lock-in. But it was helpful. And so just that little bit, I said, oh, that's dope. Like, yo, I know that the day of shooting, like, if he's going to really do well, right? So we had that cast. Yeah. We had that role cast. The alter ego role, I didn't want to play two characters. The alter ego role is like the menacing voice in Victor's head. Okay. I knew that would have been a lot. I was like, Shane, can you please come, right? And do it. He was like, yeah, Shawn, I do it. Because Shane always had an interest in like modeling and acting, but he's a software engineer. So that's, probably takes more priority. And so he agreed. So I said, bet, Shane. All right, we can resume. Shane just had a lot of stuff going on. So I wanted to make sure that was right. And then we did. I knew a lot of the actors. It couldn't be from SCAD because I needed older actors, right? Especially older Black actors. Yep. So we auditioned some for like Mia, who was like my girlfriend, and I knew I wanted someone who's like brown skin, who was really, of course, beautiful. All the women were beautiful who auditioned, and once. We were just, I did, me, AJ, Andrew knows, he also did, he was like our casting director. And then we would just sit and we would talk about like who we wanted from SCAD. So then we got Caitlin McLaughlin, who was phenomenal. Yep. And then we needed a Paul. So like the one who Mia cheats with, right? And we needed someone who was going to, I don't know, like someone who I don't know. We were just looking for someone who brought like just an edge for. And so then we got Jalen Randolph, actor from Atlanta, so he auditioned. And I think our hardest casting was the coach. We were like, yo, because I knew I wanted someone who was already a trainer. Yeah, right? Someone who's a trainer, has that background, and who actually like can appear older on screen. So I was like, God, this is the hardest, one. Like we need someone. But I remember this thought came in my head, and it was of this actor, Devon Lewis. He came in a movie on Tubi called, oh my gosh, I forgot. It was, he came in a movie, right? Directed by Nina Stacks. So it's escaping me. Bring it back, Holy Spirit. Okay, yeah, bring it back. But anyway, so I ended up, I was like, yo, where is he at? He's in Atlanta. My mom's in Atlanta. So Atlanta's network is very small, right? It's
That's
big,
what I've
but it's
heard.
small,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people know everyone. So my original director, not original, but the original director, Alan, he got me in contact with him. We can bleep his name out. He got me in contact with him, and then that's how he was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do this film, and that's pretty much how. So I knew the cast. Like, we had an amazing cast, and then we brought some students on. So I was really complete and felt whole with this cast. I said, okay, we got some A-listers in the building, people with far more experience. And I know some people were like, Shawn, were you intimidated? And I'm like, no, I can learn from them, right? And I said, even in rehearsal, like George and I, we would have Zoom rehearsals. And I said, feel free to give me some notes, right? Like, mainly just like, how can we play, right? And we did, like, it was just so, it was like ping pong, right? And he was like, Shawn, you're acting, don't act, be truthful, truthful. And he actually exposed me to Uta Hakim before Joan did, ironically. So that's how I knew he was like thorough before he sent me that masterclass that you guys did in Joan's class. So yeah, that's pretty much the style of it, to answer your original question, the cast. Because I knew that, okay, I wanted a great cast and beautiful Black people, right? Mike was our referee.
Let's go, Mike.
Which I thought was so dope, because I was like, okay, we need a good referee. And I was like, Mike, right? And there was a lot of elements that we wanted to add more of, but because it was a short film, we just didn't have enough time. But it was crunch time. It was crunch time planning. I think I'm very organized as far as like, I'm very meticulous, right, when it comes to certain things. So I think even some of my producers were like, Shawn, you're very involved. I'm like, yes, bros, I'm gonna be involved with my money. Where my money, I'm like, but I love them. I love Sidhan, Josh, Nikki.
But also, it's like you're like, you're not just an actor on it too. Like you're the producer,
the creator.
So I think that's just a unique thing too that not all films have.
And I think on the magnitude where I'm going for, because I think, hey, I had to train with me. If I just thought of this as a school project just to graduate, I knew it would be like not subpar, but I'll be lazy. I'll be idle a little bit, right? So I did not want to do that. I said, Shawn, treat this as if you got the role of Creed, or you're playing opposite of Michael B. Jordan. What you're gonna do, right? So that's how I did it, and I trained Jordan. I did from June. Like I would train with Tay. I lost 30 pounds just for this role of Victor, because I really wanted to get. I knew Victor didn't need to be like very skilled, right? But I wanted it to be believable. I was in during winter break, and this is how I say God works in mysterious ways, because I was, when you train with Taekwon Dorsey here at SCAD, right? But once winter break, you can fall off. So I said, God, I want to keep the momentum up. Please help me with a boxing class. I really would love to do. And I was on Instagram scrolling, and I see that this dude named Zephaniah Terry, who I knew was an actor from the show Ruthless, that I did a background on. I didn't know he trained. Like, he was a boxing coach. And I said, well, where's this at? It's like 15 minutes from my mom's house, his gym.
Wow.
And so then as I tell him the film and stuff, he said, Shawn, I want to be your fight choreographer. He just offered. I was like, God is like really moving. And so, and he was in George Foreman, the big George, the movie. Yeah, he played opposite of the actor. Like, he was the antagonist, right? And he was the assistant fight choreographer for that. So I was like, yo, we got to bring him on. Yeah. Wow. And I knew, and that was like the biggest thing that Scott Ballard, asked SCAD. He said, you guys need a fight choreographer. And Scott Smith said that too, because you don't need to be, for safety. So I said, okay. I said, that's true. And so the fact that
we can't just beat the shit out of each other.
Right. I was like, that's true. So once Zeph and I, we were, he would trained me and stuff. And then my mom did it at one class. When Shane visited during winter break, he was going. So 'cause I knew that we would have to play opposite of each other, which was great. And then and that kept me in shape. And I said, well, Zev, do you just want to play the opponent he said, sure. Instead of getting another actor to be the opponent where you have to he's already an actor. He knows he's training. He can just focus on me. He knows what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So it worked. God really just hand was on this project and connecting me with people from the equipment to Nikki to my great producers, Griff. Like Griff is I think he is. I've heard he is the best DP at SCAD. Like, that they say. You know, he's amazing, just great. AJ, so the cast that can act like this was phenomenal. And then even back to the trailer, to the original point, I was on Instagram scrolling again, and I said, just in case if my editor, shout out to Matthew Atala, he's a senior, and he was using this as his capstone. So that's also, if you want to do a film, get people who are using this as their thesis as well, because that will help. They will prioritize that to the max. Even my production designer, Rudai Yalamarti, he worked on Bollywood films. So like all this, I think God really placed people with a lot of experience and great skill set. But back to the trailer. I saw this dude that did trailers because I knew, just in case if my editor couldn't do the trailer, which he said he couldn't because he just had to prioritize other things. I found a dude who did the trailer. He did the Michael trailer. He did Sinners trailer. He did Him trailer. So what you see is from, shout out to Derek, is from Derek. You know,
how did you clutch that up?
So one thing with me, I will ask. I don't mind. It's like, what's the worst that people can say is no, right?
Yeah.
And then
you're back to where you were originally.
Yeah, it's like, and my brain is always thinking. It's like my gears are always going. Like I'm very solution oriented, and this is that resource mind. So I'm like, okay, if you can't do it, another person will do it. Like if you're not, I will literally. That's just how my brain works. So like, okay, like I've been through so much where it's like I had to hustle and like make a way where help my mom. My mom would help. So it's. If you tell me no, okay, it just fuels me. It's something I don't know. It just it just fuels me even more. Like, tell me no.
Oh, okay, you don't want to be part of this,
right? No, like right, no. And so I reached out. I saw his contact. I reached out to him, right, and he texted me. I was like, okay. He was like, hey, bro. And I already knew the budget I was going for, so I spoke to my producers, Sidhan and Josh, Nikki. So what's a good like rate, right? And so then we went back to him, and he had like a high rate. And so then Sidhan helped negotiate. I said, no, I was like, no, I cannot do this set price, right? So we're a student film. Always say that. We're a student film. We're a student project. Like, we're only working with the set, right? Barter. And so he was like, okay, I'll do it for you. Bet. So so the trailer you see now is created by Derek, who created the Oscar award-winning film, created the trailer for Sinners. Michael.
Isn't that just crazy that like that's a job? Like, I just edit trailers.
Right. I
just go through your film and I pull the clips in for the trailer.
Exactly.
That's what I do.
Exactly.
Like I think that's what's so cool about this industry and everything. And like, we want to be actors, but also there's that like there's a ton of other stuff that we could do if that doesn't work. And it's like I think that's what gets me excited because it's like maybe acting doesn't work out for me, or maybe I realize like I don't want to do acting, but it's like what I have all these skills. Now, what could I use them with, or like what's some weird niche little thing that like you never it's like someone's so far in the back that no one ever sees that, but it's like, oh yeah, that's my job, that's my career, I'm in and out, and like it's like I think that's what's so cool, like the fact that there's people that are like, yeah, my job's to edit trailers,
right, and it shows it's like the collaborative effort, like Jordan, if you're my DP, like I need you because you're working the camera. If you're doing gaffing or the lighting, like it's such a comprehensive type of field where you have to really be nice to everyone, right? Like you cannot be just nasty to people, or because like you're dependent on them, right, to make it look good. Like even I think just being professional at all times, because like we had to go to South Carolina, as Mike knows. Did you drive there? No, you rode with someone, right?
I rode with funny story. I rode with I forget their names, honestly. I'm sorry, but like I rode with these four girls. Okay. And the car was small and I'm tall, so I'm like scrunched in the back, and I have like these knee issues, so sometimes I can't sit very long with my knee at a 90
I didn't know
angle.
that. I'm sorry.
Like, it's all
Bleep
good.
this out. Bleep this out. Let me stop.
But I remember one of the girls. She asked me. She said, "So where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Massachusetts." And she goes, "Isn't that a city?" And I'm like, "No, it's a state." And her response was, "Well, I think it should be a city." And then I was like, "Okay." And then we never spoke for the rest of the ride.
Oh my god.
Hey, but that cast was fire.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well,
I do want to say, like, dude, that day was like I told you before we started recording, that day was super cool because everyone was like super, super professional. And when I walked on there, I was kind of taken back how serious and professional people were taking it, because my undergrad, people do student films. It's like, oh, we're just doing a student film, yada yada. But like, it really felt like being on legit like film set, and it was like super cool, and it made the day was like a breeze, and everyone was super nice. So like, props to you, bro.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate that, and that was like my prayer. That was my prayer, because I was like, God, please I just wanted it to be as professional as possible, especially outside of who we bringing in for the cast, right? But this was the first time I ever produced something. I said, my name's attached to this, like my family now, my brother's part of this. I'm having my friend doing this, I want, and then I have I felt so, I felt like, I'm bringing not outsiders, but people that aren't part of the SCAD community, like here. So I also felt in charge over the students, right? Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, like making sure they're good. And even just being responsible, like everyone drove. So I made sure those who drove, gas reimbursements, right? Yeah. Like the typical things that certain people don't do on student films, like they were gonna get it. Like I appreciate, Nikki and for getting the food, like they had Panda Express, right? Instead of like pizzas, things in that. Like one day was Olive Garden, the next day was Moe's, like just things like where people can eat and really just be satisfied.
Did you ever run into the hey, we gotta stop shooting to eat?
Oh no, we never. We didn't do that. We did not do that. I know. Yeah, we did not do that. We did not do that. We did not do that. It was just, I will say.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge on set?
Oh, Lord. That was okay. You say, go ahead.
Yeah, like what was like one thing that you're like, oh, that was challenging, or that was a tough moment,
Okay, it had to be. So during filming, I was getting the flu. Out of all the weeks, this is how I know the enemy, the devil.
Who gets the flu?
Who gets the flu? This is how I know the devil's real, because out of all, I already knew God was real, but the devil hates me, right? Yeah. Which I don't care. Yeah. But I was really getting, I was because my roommate, shout out to Bobak, he was having his thesis. He was having his thesis. Lord, cut that out. Bleep. I don't know what. Lord, okay. My roommate Bobak was having his thesis the same time I was, right? Yeah. But he was kind of not feeling good. And I was like, dang, okay, so I might not. So he was like coughing and stuff. And so then I started to get like sick, but I was getting like progressively like worse. So going to South Carolina, I was like, my voice was changing. I was getting worse. I said, God, granted I didn't have that many lines that day, but I am grateful that I did condition my body the way I did. Had I did not, I would have been so out of it. Like Mike he saw. Remember, they had to pour water on me just because I was like I was overheating. Like literally, because imagine 20 takes, we're fighting. Yep. Cut. Fight. Cut. Fight. Fight. Cut. It was a lot of takes, right?
It was a bit, yeah. It was quite a bit.
I was like, and then I was
thinking like, Shawn's a beast. Look at him go. He's hanging in there.
I was getting so. And so the challenge was that, and on top of, I felt like that day, and I love everyone, right? But this is what was ticking me off a little bit, was everyone's pulling, Shawn, where's this, Shawn, asking me, and it's like, yo, thank God I wasn't doing like the method, right? Because like,
you're shy right now.
Right? But even just like to be so focused, like, my methodology was Uta Hagen, right? So, that was hard because it's pulling my focus. I said, I was like, guys, give me a moment, because like I really shouldn't have been the first point of contact. That's why, it should have been like the producers. Nikki wasn't there at the time because she was at ATV Fest, so she was coming in the next day back on set. But that was like the biggest thing, because folks are asking me about certain things, and it's like, y'all, I have to now I created the professionalism. I try to foster and cultivate that environment,
Yep.
so I didn't have to worry about the producing on set.
Yeah.
Right. So, and granted, some people might say, well, Shawn, that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
I did. However, during that set time of me shooting, because this is not a
Yeah.
producing thesis, it's an acting thesis.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on the acting. And I think that was like the biggest challenge. And then, I'm getting, under the weather. Like, it wasn't until my brother, they had to get Vicks from the store. And I hated Vicks as a kid.
Yep.
This was my first time actually using it. Shane rubbed it all down.
Yep.
And it was like my lungs, like, I could breathe.
It's crazy how that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I said, let's go. Let's get it.
Yep.
And then it was really great. Much better, really great. Because it was like we were there for like 12, 15 hours. Like, it was a long day. And then we're 2 hours away. So you're already hearing that. So I made sure and I remember my producer was saying, Shawn, definitely reimburse them so they can come back tomorrow, the crew. So I said, because, student film. So I was like, you guys, at the end, I said, you guys will all be getting your reimbursements. They like lit up.
Yeah.
I was like, they said, thank you, Shawn. I said, you're welcome.
See you tomorrow.
Yo, see you tomorrow, right? I said, see you tomorrow. And I'm just a natural giver. Like, money, you can put $1 million in front of me, right? Like, I like thieving or like trying to get one up on someone. That's just never been me. So if I owe you $12.30,
Yep.
I'm going to give you $12.30, right?
Yep.
Or $13, right?
Yep.
Like, I just want to bless people, right? So I'm grateful that everyone, and I found that, everyone was able to do that and get reimbursed. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges on set. And then you're going to have people who aren't like as satisfied with certain things. And then, but in the end, they're really like, happy and chill.
Yeah.
So I think that was like the hardest day, was that Boxing Day, and that was day 2 of filming. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's so cool to hear stories of the film, and like I've touched on it so many times of like how professional that it is, and it's so crazy the stories of like getting connected with those people that like take it to that next level, or like the overcomes, and like how God has played. Like you've been in a Bible study with me.
Yeah.
And it's like just like how I think God always has a plan in some way. And I think the hardest part is just trusting it.
Yes.
And we talk about like faith is like having faith is like trusting in something that's unknown. It's like, no, faith is you believe it.
Yeah.
And it's true. And faith is the action of just like being there with it.
Yes.
And so I think like we can get that mixed up. And it's like, no, if I have faith in God, it's like, no, I know he's real. He's there. He's present. It's not faith in that way of like, I don't know, maybe. It's like, no, he is. And my faith is that I'm following you.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool is it seems like he blesses his people in the ways that he wants them to go.
Yeah.
And it's just like with this project, it's like, I think he wanted you to make this project. And I don't know what it will do for you post-graduation or where it will take you. And like, I think that's the exciting part of the whole thing.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. And, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally dead, because people can say, like, oh, my God, I want this. Like, but we don't, as believers in Jesus Christ, we don't utilize our faith as how we're supposed to, right? Like, we're supposed to already believe in our hearts that we have it.
Yeah.
And then we praying from a place of pity instead of using our authority. Luke
Yeah.
10:19 says we have authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, right? So if you're sick in your body, you don't say, like, God, I want to be healed. You declare the word of God and say, God, I am healed, right? God, you are the Jehovah Rapha. You're my healer, God. Lord, you said by your stripes, I am healed. So I speak to whatever it is and declare that I'm healed in Jesus' name, right? And I think sometimes, or many times, we often, as believers, we tell God how big the problem is, but we don't tell the problem how big our God is. And we got to do that. It's like, no, because he's already the battle's already won and he's working it out, right? But we just need, using our authority and our faith just allows it to accelerate, right? And our prayers can really get answered to the fullest extent. And and it was Southside Hero. That was the film that Devon was in.
Hey.
Thank you, Holy Ghost. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Come on, always. See, never fails. And I think that, and to your original question, Jordan, you said why a film, and I always coming into SCAD, right? I felt like the underdog. We can cut this out, but I'm gonna tell you guys for the sake of the story, right? I felt like the underdog, right? I knew that certain professors, like because my experience was in sociology, it's like academia, I can tell like I wasn't, like they looked at me as inexperienced, right? Even my cohort, like, oh, Shawn, like I like your character as a person, I just don't like your acting, right? I discern, I know, like I can tell that's pretty much like the thought about me, right? Initially, like here in the cohort, when I first got here. And so I was also dealing with, never in my life I felt insecure about my academic or intellectual abilities, right? Until I got to SCAD, I felt like more, I'm not an insecure person, but I felt a little bit inferior of like who I was as a person. So that's why I really had to rely on God, because I said, God, I'm in a new environment. I said, I'm dealing with people who are perceiving me less than who I actually am. And I don't need to remind them of what I've done. Oh, you passed laws, you did this, right? Because I'm like, I don't feel like that matters, but like, Lord, what's going on? So I always felt like the underdog. I said, I want to challenge myself and prove to myself that, Shawn, you can do this. Push your acting, right? You're working out. You reread, and we can now we can resume. I think part of the preparation, I reread Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen, right? I was at the Eugene O'Neill looking at pulling from different methodologies, journaling. How can I get into the psyche of Victor, working out, writing down questions. Tessa Thompson, Lupita Nyong'o said, Lupita Nyong'o said she writes down a list of questions that's immediately when she gets a script, right, about her character. Tessa Thompson said she looks at the unsaid moments, right? Unstated moments, right? What's the subtext, the weight of these scenes? I was doing that, right? So it wasn't on time. It wasn't until the day of set. Sometimes I can get in my head a lot because I'm so analytical and I'm so like, if I don't believe it, Jordan, Mike, it's just going to come out unbelievable, right? Like, I have to buy into it. I have to believe it. So,
if you're in front of Jones, she'll call it out right there.
Right, exactly. So it wasn't until day 3 of filming with George, and I'll probably say this in the Q&A as well, but George, we had an intense scene where, Victor was confronting, spoiler, it's in the trailer, he's confronting his dad, and Meg Kelly, who y'all will be taking, has a slogan like prepare. You prepare, and then improvise, right, when you get on set. And so I had to come to terms, and I said, Shawn, you prepared. Like, you're not unprepared. Like, lock in. Flip that switch. Like, you know the objectives, your tactics. You just got to be now present, right, with your scene partner, which is George. What does Victor want, right? I want to blow off steam. I need to get my dad off my back. Like, so I had to recreate those moments and do the 3 entrances with before AJ called cut, because AJ gave me a slight adjustment, and then he was like, all right, we closed the door. I was outside. My character was coming from basically confronting his girlfriend, right? Okay. And so I'm going upstairs, and my dad is like asking me to do chores and stuff and just not really caring. And so now Victor's kind of exploding and having that confrontational scene. And it wasn't until I was so present, the tears started flowing, right? And I'm like, they would just start come down. And so
This has a 10% battery power.
You're good. It should hold.
All right, cool.
Okay,
Just click OK.
It says glow power mode and close.
Just hit close. Yeah, you're good.
All right. Are we good?
Okay, bad. So we just had, it was so intense, like the tears started coming, and then they was like, all right, and cut. But my body couldn't tell it was fake. So I'm just like, I said, hold on, I need a moment. It's so AJ gives me this big hug, and it's like, Shawn, you about to make me cry. Right? And then George, he said, Shawn, he was like, good shit. He said, that's what I'm talking about. And he was like, I'm sorry, Shawn, if I was too mean to you, and we took this picture, this selfie, and I went in the bathroom because I really had to clean myself up. And I was like, this is acting. Like that, like being so present, where it's like you're not thinking about the words, where you're not thinking about what you're gonna do. Do I need to stand here? Should the blocking be here? But when we're in the scene and I'm so locked in that this camera's here and I'm so open to what you're giving to me, and it's like a ping pong. That was just so exhilarating. I'm like, dang, this is what this is. This is what this field is about. And then Chris Shaw was there because he's my thesis chair. He was like, Shawn, good work. And then he said, he was like, where'd you find Tim? Talking about the dad. He's like, where'd you find Tim? I'm like, was so funny how he said it. He was like, "Where'd you find him?" I said, "That's my friend George. He's from Atlanta." He was like, "He's good." I was like, "Okay."
I know. I guess.
Right. He said, "Good work." He was like, "Okay, I want to stay," but he said, "It's too late. I gotta go." That's what Chris Shaw said. I said, "Okay." But yeah, this has been a great experience. So cool. One of many. Yeah. It's not gonna end. You know, I think Nice Guy, you know, God willing, is the feature film that's gonna come out that Nikki and I have to just write. And I didn't mention this, but we actually got the script copyright written as well. We did the copywriting process earlier when we were in, like, once we did the just earlier in the phase, like once we had the script locked, we copyrighted the process, because before, you know, God will speak to me in different ways, mainly dreams. But I heard like an audible voice start saying, like, start protecting your work, right? It was really like get NDAs, right? So I was like, you know, let me just, and Nikki said, Shawn, I've copywritten like a lot of my novels and stuff, because she was writing books. So I will walk you through it. And she's been such a help and joy, and she literally like just helped walk me through the process. So the script is already copywritten. I can't wait to create more, and just other stories. Like I love producing. I don't think I would ever do line producing and finding money, but I would do other forms of producing, because I like to make sure everything's in order, right? Like everyone has, but I also love acting. So this taught me a lot, and I would direct in the future, but I just want to really get a grip of like acting first. For sure. But this was really, this is a great time. So that's why I wanted to showcase something big, you know, and not fight with Scad about reserving a room and trying to get I said, let me just, and Nikki was a blessing, because she pretty much helped reserve the space at the Otis S. Johnson Theater, which is right across from Kreitz, like literally right across from Kreitz. Free admission, beautiful theater, where the screening will be taking place. And then I emailed the mayor for him to moderate our Q&A conversation. He agreed to do it. So like it's going, and it's red carpet, so everyone dressed nice. I want all guests. We'll have a photographer there. It's free, no more than like an hour 30 max total. So like the film is like 16 minutes.
My black suit.
Yes, come on. My mom's gonna be there. My younger brothers. My brother Shane won't be able to make it because he's in Seattle now. So but he will be doing the Zoom option, so he'll be zooming in. So that's sick.
Cool. As you wrap up your time here at SCAD, do you know what your plan is post graduation?
So it's still in the works. I will be moving back to Atlanta with my mom and just getting representation. That's what I'm prioritizing, and then finally just getting. You know, I'm very big on being a thriving artist. No one should ever want to be a starving artist. And because I do have other skill sets such as sociology, I can work in HR and just other different fields to contribute. So I would love to do that, where I'm making the salary that I want to, and that's helping me just support my dreams of acting and artistry. But yeah, that's it. I'm really open to the future. You know, I think at Morehouse I was so like, I gotta have a plan, I gotta do this. But now my trust in God is just in relationship is so strong, where it's like, I trust you. I trust you. I don't want to control it, God. You know, I know it's gonna work out for my good. So I just give you custody over my life, because I know you're gonna bless it and it's gonna work out.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Thanks for coming on the show, and
thank you for having me
and breaking it down. I think what's so funny is like you can see a project like that and then not know what goes on behind the scenes, or just the setup and all that kind of stuff, and the stress and the excitement and the sad and all that good stuff. But so thanks for coming on. We could take camera 2, the wide shot. Thanks everyone for watching this episode of the Jordan Whitrock Show. Shawn, thanks for coming in. Mike, thanks for popping in as always.
Of course.
And if you made it this far, consider dropping a like, subscribe to the channel. That helps us tremendously. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya. Peace.